'Tis I, Sprog Pendlebury. I'm doing the intro this week because my dad can't be arsed. I'm also a ventriloquist in my spare time. Yes, that's funny. Unlike this intro. Well, if you'd like to go and get involved with my dad's racing league, well, come along, it's very exciting and bouncy and fun. All of the reasons are over there, and there's a Discord link below me as well. But for now, let's crack on with this week's highlights. Tasty bird. Hello then, and welcome to Donington Park. A very overcast and miserable looking Donington Park. Is that rain on the horizon? Yes, it's coming in December, potentially, but it might be 2024. Anyway, nice cool track conditions, track temperature of 19 degrees, that's, or maybe that's the air temperature. No, the weather says 26 degrees. Anyway, never mind. Let's crack on with the grid. Well, Geoff Sharp, he takes his first pole position of the championship. Maybe, can't remember. Oh well, Ricky Worrell is behind him just over 2/10 back, but he is in the fast starting Honda. We then have Lord Pendlebury in third place with Will Thomas alongside in fourth. Chris Hulse, first of the AM category, he's got Martin Rigby alongside. Martin Rigby taking part in his first event for quite a while this season. We then have Paul Nicholson and Chris Palmer with Josh Morris and Brian Dodd. Now let's head down and see how they get on. Well, they're sat there revving. Engine notes hold constant now, and the green flag flies. Where on earth did he whip that out from? The guy in the gantry. And as suspected, it's a cracking start from Worrell. Looks like the three wide behind them. Pendlebury, the meat in a Will Thomas and Chris Hull sandwich. Oh, and there's a bit of contact there between Pendlebury and Thomas. That's allowed Hulse to get away. Palmer now side by side with both Pendlebury and Thomas by the looks of things. Down through the crater curves they go. Oh, and that's Thomas into the back of Pendlebury. Pendlebury's out wide into the grass. Thomas follows him. And, oh, there's a bit more argy-bargy off on the grass. I can tell you that forced Pendlebury across the slowdown. Not chuffed about that. We've got Chris Palmer all over the back of Martin Rigby here. Martin Rigby runs wide. That's P4 then for Chris Palmer. Looks like it's all calm at the front. Still going off a bit more in the back. It looks like we're going three wide towards the back here. Not quite, but Pendlebury still trying to get rid of that slowdown. And through the chicane they go. It's a lovely livery on the car of Brian Dodd's Velociraptor. Oh, and Pendlebury looking to make the move here on Paul Nicholson as they come up into the turn one. Oh, Dodds run a little bit wide there, and then Pendlebury gets a 2-for-1 deal. That puts him back up into P8. Started off in third place, Pendlebury. That is a catastrophic start. Let's go and have a look and see what is going on with the leaders then at this point. Well, it's a cracking start there for Ricky Worrell. Let's take a look at the gaps. And he's already got a second lead on Geoff Sharp. Chris Hulse just half a second back in third place. Looks like in the background, Pendlebury has just got past somebody. Josh Morris, I think it was. Or was it Martin Rigby? Either way, that is Will Thomas up the inside of Chris Palmer. Well, going back to take a look at this one. Here is Pendlebury going around the outside of Morris as they charge up the hill. Lovely little squeals from the turbo there. Morris looks to get the switch back, but can't quite. So the order. Oh, he's clattered the curbs there, has Chris Hulse. Oh, he's spun all the way round. Tell you what, if you look at that track map, good old Ricky Worrell and Geoff Sharp, they are way out ahead of the rest, kept out of trouble And, I mean, Geoff Sharp did claim that this was a good race-long battle, but I don't know. Looks like Warren is keeping him at arm's length currently. Well, here we have the battle for 8th between Josh Morris and Martin Rigby. Rigby, someone else that's fallen down the order in this race. Side by side, down the crane of curves they go. Excellent racing from these two. Morris holds on for the moment, but he's wide onto the grass. And there he goes. He'll take a slowdown for that, unfortunately. And Chris Palmer's a little bit wide through there. Pendlebury shows it up the inside. Gets it slowed. Maybe to his detriment there. And Chris Palmer's definitely got a run as they come down towards the chicane. He decided against defending here, Pendlebury. Can they make it too wide? They play nicely. Indeed they can, but that gives Chris Palmer the crucial inside line as they come up towards turn 1. We've also got a battle between Paul Nicholson and Chris Hulse livening up in the background as well. Pendlebury looking to get the switch back by the looks of things. Now, taking a look at the battle for the lead, and you can see there in the top left or in the bottom right, wherever it takes your fancy, Geoff Sharp has been closing that gap. Only 0.7 of a second as it stands. Ooh, looks like Pendlebury's got a pretty decent run there. Is he going to go for it? Indeed he does. Pulls out at the last minute. And that is a very tidy looking move. Up to 4th place. However, will he be able to hold it? Chris Hulse has got past Brian Dodd in the background. That's because Brian Dodd is a lap down. That makes more sense. Will Pendlebury go defensive this time? Indeed he does. Learn from his mistake the last time. They both swing across to the left a little bit. And oh, it's not a good run there from Pendlebury. He's going to have to keep on the defence as they charge down towards turn 1. How's Chris Palmer going to handle this? Is he going to try and get the switch back? Looks like he is going to. Does very nicely there. I tell you what, we saw it last week in the LMDHs, and we're seeing it again now. Chris Palmer, quite the master of the switchback. It didn't quite work for him there, but definitely got it in his locker. And I tell you what, Pendlebury's got some good momentum as they go through Old Hairpin, and he may have fought off that attack. There's half a second gap there. Will he be able to build it? Here it is then. Martin Rigby and Paul Nicholson battling out for 7th place. And Rigby takes a look up the inside. Paul Nicholson runs wide. And a quick look at the replay of Lord Pendlebury getting past Chris Palmer, because Lord Pendlebury was happy with this one. Looking to the left and then just sends it up the inside. Gets the job done. We return to the leaders then as they round a corner onto the back straight. Just the chicane to go. Geoff Sharp has been closing that gap. But it's not enough. Ricky Worrell takes the win. Geoff Sharp in second. Tell you what though, I think we've got a, looking at the time screens, we've got a battle between Palmer and Hulse. Well, here it is then. Palmer looking to fend off Hulse in these final few corners. Hulse looks to the inside. Doesn't quite get there, but Palmer was suitably distracted. Runs wide. Hulse has got the momentum. Will that guarantee him 5th place? I'm not sure. Palmer is desperately trying to cling on the inside. Hulse has gone ultra defensive as they come up to the chicane. Pulls a little bit to the left. Palmer will have the better line. We know he's a master of the switchback. And there it is. It's a drag race to the line. But Hulse gets it. That was a cracking race right to the end there between the Chris's. And that's a shame for Palmer. It was a good race. But anyway, let's take a look at the race results. Oh, and what is that? Anyway, let's take a look at those results. Well, Ricky Worrell, after that blistering start, he did a good job off the line. He takes first place. Geoff Sharp just 4/10 back in second. Will Thomas came home in third. Good recovery drive from him after getting together with Pendlebury on that first lap. Pendlebury also a pretty decent recovery drive for the same reason from the same incident. We then have Chris Hulse, first of the AM category, in fifth, with Chris Palmer in sixth. He claimed second in AM category. Martin Rigby came home in seventh. He was in strife for some of that race, but again, I think he fell back to 10th place, so recovers to seventh. Then have Paul Nicholson rounding out the top three in AM and 8th overall. Josh Morris was then in 9th and Brian Dodd in 10th. Well then, welcome back to round 15, still at Donington Park. This time it's a 45-minute sprint race with mandatory stop. Everybody's favourite game now then, guess that livery. Doesn't help that I've changed cars, other people have changed liveries. But then again, that doesn't really matter for here. Oh god, they're going to start before I get through this. Oh well, this is just going to be shit. Anyway, that's Martin Rigby on pole position with Paul Nicholson alongside. We then have Brian Dodd with Josh Morris in 12th. It's then Chris Palmer with Chris Hulse alongside him. Then it's Ricky Worrell in the 22 Castrol machine. Then Pendlebury in his switched to Honda Civic. We then have Will Thomas and Geoff Sharp on that back row. I've done it before they started. Now let's crack on. You know what? Let's just go to live. Let's see how this goes. Fantastic stuff. God, it's like I meant it. Look at that start from the Audi of Chris Palmer. Does very well there. Another 3 wide affair. Everybody just trying to get through without too much issue. A few people run wide there, including Josh Morris at the back. Flying down the crater curves they go. Oh, who's that out wide? Pendlebury somehow gathers it up. It allows Will Thomas to get up the inside of him. Made a good start there, Pendlebury, but it's gone wrong. Oh, we've got Chris Hulse alongside Chris Palmer again. Ricky Worrell, he's made an excellent start. He now moves himself up into P3 already. That's... oh, who's that? That's Nicholson and, what should we call it, Will Thomas, both up the inside of Chris Hulse there. We then got Geoff Sharp, he's up the inside of somebody else. God, we need a different camera angle that makes it easier to see all of this that's going on. Chris Hulse goes defensive. Pendlebury up close behind Geoff Sharp there. That's Paul Nicholson that's run out wide. Chris Hulse looking to go all the way around the outside. He does so. Very nice indeed. Sharp and Pendlebury all over the back of Nicholson as they go through Old Hairpin. Focusing on Chris Hulse as we go round. Let's bring up some information so we can see what we can see. think there was something going on. Yep. Oh, that is Paul Nicholson. Spins to the inside. He just lost positions to Sharp and Pendlebury before that, but that puts him down into last place. Oh, there's Ricky Worrell on the inside of Chris Palmer. Oh, that gets very close there. Will Thomas goes up the inside of Ricky Worrell. This has been a very typical touring car race so far. Will Thomas and Chris Palmer all over. I tell you who's absolutely got away with it. Martin Rigby, nearly 4 seconds up the road. He will hope that these guys continue to battle it out. Chris Hulse was looking to make a move on Worrell there, but we've got Chris Palmer and Will Thomas side by side down the graded curves. Always a fantastic sight to see. Palmer on the inside. Will Thomas runs off the track. Ricky Worrell getting involved as well here. You feel like this is going to end in tears. They are all over each other. Ricky Worrell gets that position back. Will Thomas switches back underneath him, does he? He does indeed. Maybe a little bit of a hip and shoulders there as they go round there side by side. Worrell dives into that slipstream. Thomas going defensive, but he does pull across to the left-hand side for the chicane. That's Chris Hulse up the inside. Oh, I tell you what, there was a crash bang and wallop from Chris Palmer's car there. That lead that Martin Rigby has got up to 5 seconds now. Let's just take a quick look at him. Look at him sitting pretty out on his own. You'd think he was on a test session. That's Ricky Worrell side by side with Geoff Sharp now. Sharp and Pendlebury getting on. Pendlebury on the inside of Sharp. Oh, Sharp shoves him. He's off. Pendlebury is in a different fucking state. Look at that. State? County. Bloody hell. That has opened things up a little bit now. Where on earth is it going on Chris Hulse? Very close behind Will Thomas there. Have we got some people side by side at the back? No, we don't. God, I think it is just about starting to calm down a little bit. It has been a frantic opening 5 seconds. Fucking hell, 5 minutes of this race. So rather than looking at specific replays, we will jump on board with the chopper, I think, to try and unravel everything that happened here. You can see how tight everything is. Martin Rigby, he's already off and away, but we then get Hulse into the back of Palmer. Then that causes everybody to concertina up like an accordion. Josh Morris lost off the back there. Ryan Dodd also had his momentum killed as we're down through the craners. That's Pendlebury running wide. Will Thomas takes the opportunity to slide up his inside. Then very close battle at the front there between Palmer, Worrell and Hulse. That's where Hulse runs wide, kills all his momentum. A little bit of contact there between Hulse and Will Thomas. Sharp goes up the inside of Nicholson. Pendlebury thinks, I'll have a bit of that too. Up the inside he goes. Then things start heating up at the front. That's Worrell looking up the inside of Palmer. Will Thomas gets involved. He then gets a good run on Palmer. Simultaneously, Chris Hulse getting a good run on Worrell. Will Thomas does a good job of maintaining the outside line for the credit curves. He'll have the inside for the left, but not at Old Hairpin he won't. And tries to hang it all the way around the outside and does a good job, and you can see everything gets really close here. That's Pendlebury up the inside of Sharp in the background. Worrell up the inside of Will Thomas. Then Sharp gets the switch back on Pendlebury. And Chris Hull sends it up the inside of Ricky Worrell there. Then Sharp and Pendlebury have to slam on the brakes to make sure they don't go into the back of Worrell. Worrell stays defensive. And then Pendlebury comes up the inside of Sharp, and Sharp just says fuck you and sends him way off. Sharp just about stops himself from spinning there. Pendlebury gets a slowdown for his troubles. Well, we jump on to Pendlebury's helmet cam here just to have a look at Mad Axe Murderer Sharp. Pendlebury sends it up the inside, judges it to perfection. No contact made there at all. Starts to straighten the wheel a little bit, and then Sharp comes across. 1, 2, and then 3. And Pendlebury is sent towards the stands over there. Well, whilst we look at, or we're looking at Jack the Ripper committing his first crime of the evening. Oh, that's Worrell almost clobbering the back of Hulse there. But this three-way battle turned into a four-way battle. In the background, it looks like Sharp is making another attempt on Pendlebury's life. I think he may well have made it up the inside. Indeed he has. You can see that in the background. Worrell and Hull side by side down the Craners, and it looks like they're side by side at the. Oh wow, that's Will Thomas. He is well off the track there. Sharp licking his lips, trying to claim another victim. Is he gonna have a look? Sharp. No, that's Thomas goes defensive there. Very close there, so this is the battle for fourth. I forgive you for not being able to keep track of all this. It has been a frenetic opening few exchanges. Sharp taking a peek to the inside as they go up towards the chicane. Rigby's now extended his lead to 5.6 seconds at the front. Pendlebury right on the tail of Sharp. There. That Honda is very good through the chicane. Can really take a lot of curb. Ooh, Thomas loses that rear end ever so slightly, I think, there. Goes defensive. Really had to there. That Elantra really looking like a handful. Ooh, that is a big hit on the curbs there for Sharp. Pendlebury able to slide up the inside. So what, the front of that Hyundai looking a bit damaged there from Will Thomas. Can see a lot of that right front tyre. The battle for fourth place then. Will Thomas still holding on. He's out wide there though. Pendlebury will have more momentum as they go up the hill. Looking to the inside line here. He'll be well aware that Sharp is there waiting. Pendlebury looks to the inside, does he? He does. But brakes early, doesn't fancy sticking his nose in. Oh, and there's a bit of contact between Pendlebury and Sharp there. Sharp once again putting in his angry eyes like Mr. Potato Head. Well, replay just in, and this comes from 4 laps back on lap 6. I was so distracted by the Hulse and Worrell battle, I somehow missed this. Little bit of contact, and then Chris Palmer sent hard into the barriers by Will Thomas there. That is a pretty ropey looking Audi now. Well, the three-way battle between the three championship leaders is starting to become a four-way battle. They've slowly been closing up with Chris Hulse in third. He's fallen off the back of Worrell a bit. Worrell has closed in that gap to Martin Rigby. It's now only 3.3 seconds. Oh, Sharp's looking to the inside. Oh, and Will Thomas gets a big slide on there, and that enables both Sharp and Pendlebury through. Critical for the championship. Sharp looking to extend his lead. Pendlebury looking to close that gap to Will Thomas. On the AM Championship, Chris Hulse leading the way. He will be extending his lead, especially as his main rival for the overall championship in AM is Steve Everson, who is sadly not racing tonight. Obviously another festival to attend. They won't attend themselves, you see. Well, Sharp and Pendlebury right up behind Hulse now. And in the background, Will Thomas going in for his first pit stop then. He'll get some repairs done to the front of that car. Having a look back down to this battle for third place. Will Thomas now coming out of the pit lane. He is in P8, just coming out behind Brian Dodd. Now the question we've got, will any of these three come in this lap to try and cover off Will Thomas? He'll undoubtedly be lapping a bit quicker than these guys because they are battling away a bit, and it's Pendlebury that does it. He dives into the pit lane. And Geoff Sharp looking to go all the way around the outside of Chris Hulse. Down the crane as they go. This will not be helping them in the battle with Pendlebury and Thomas. Pendlebury's now on the pit exit. Let's have a quick look there. Where is Will Thomas? There is Will Thomas. Where is Pendlebury? There is Pendlebury. And Will Thomas, he jumps him. Good move from Will Thomas. Let's go back and have a look and see what's happening with... Oh, there was a big crunch there. And I'm not sure if anybody... Well, there's Chris Hulse's stricken Veloster in the background, and he's had to tow. You can see him drop to the bottom of the standings there. What has happened? Mad Axe Murderer Sharp at it again, I suspect. Let's go and take a look. Well, they were on their way up the hill when it happened. Round to the left they go, and oh, it's just outright murder. He's rammed him off. Oh my! And just like Shaggy, it wasn't me. His car fixes itself to make him look innocent. That is disgusting behaviour from driver and car. Well, here we are on board with Peter Sutcliffe himself. Just lines him up, and then John Wayne Gacy's his arse. Into the barriers he goes. Death to another. Well, the current battle for 5th and 6th. Net battle really for what will be 3rd place now after Sharp's latest murder. Oh, and that is Thomas out wide onto the grass. Pendlebury sweeps around the outside. Up into 5th place for him. He'll look to try and gap Thomas now, but that's going to be easier said than done. Well, taking a look at the battle at the front, and that has certainly come down. 1.5 seconds between Martin Rigby and Ricky Worrell. That's Brian Dodd in the middle of them at the moment. Brian Dodd currently circulating in 8th place. He's now a lap down. Chris Hulse also a lap down in 9th, and Josh Morris in 10th. And Ricky Worrell has been plugging away at that gap. And I tell you what, in the background, here he is, just overlapping Josh Morris there. That is Geoff Sharp. He has got his head down after his most recent murder, and is trying to close that gap as well, and most importantly trying to get out ahead of Pendlebury and Thomas. Tell you what though, at the moment, with their bad fortune, Chris Palmer, Brian Dodd, Chris Elson, Josh Morris, they are the runners for the AM category. Paul Nicholson, 4th position overall at the moment and leader of the AM category. He could be on for his first class win in this race. Ah, there is Ricky Worrell, and look at that gap, 0.6 of a second. Worth pointing out that Rigby and Worrell have not pitted yet. And Worrell peels off into the pits now. He has closed that gap as close as he can do, and will no doubt be going for the undercut. That hands second place, at least in the interim, to Geoff Sharp. Oh, and oh no! Worrell, I've just heard his pit radio, and there's some "see you next Tuesdays" going on. There's a lot of swearing going on because he's changing his tyres. That is not what he wants to do. You don't need to change your tyres, and it takes an absolute age. He's got fresh rear tyres, I think it is. Old front tyres, that's not the typical combination. You can see there in the foreground, that is Pendlebury and Thomas going through. So Worrell comes out in 6th, and that is where he will stay, because nobody else, unless they've made such a stupid mistake, won't be making such an error. Let's take a look at his helmet, because he could be up for helmet of the week. I mean, I think we all know that Geoff Sharp could be helmet of the week as well, but I am fearing for my life. And we cross it live to the pit lane where Martin Rigby's riding his pogo stick, and he's come into the pit, so that hands Geoff Sharp the lead. Paul Nicholson has come in for his pit stop, and that is Martin Rigby coming out in 2nd place. Once Geoff Sharp pits, you will expect him to resume the race lead. And Paul Nicholson just exiting the pits as we speak. There he is, into some lovely, fresh, clean air. He's got Chris Palmer about 4.5 seconds back, but it's a nice, healthy gap to Ricky Worrell ahead, so no distractions for him. And now Geoff Sharp pogoing down the pit lane himself. Now, where are Pendlebury? Well, there's Pendlebury. Will Thomas has dropped about 2 seconds back from Pendlebury, so this is crucial in the championship, as we've said. Geoff Sharp now exiting the pits, looking back to Pendlebury there, who will come out of this on top. And it's Pendlebury cuts across that pit exit, like Sharp isn't there. So Sharp comes out between Pendlebury and Thomas. They've all separated out a bit from that initial battle they were having. Now the question is, will Pendlebury have the pace? A, to keep Sharp at bay. B, to close that gap on Martin Rigby. Well, we get the answer a few laps later. Pendlebury has not been able to fend off the charge from Sharp. But equally, these two have been catching Martin Rigby slowly, but surely. That was smooth. And oh, Rigby gets a big slide on there, and momentum tells me that this could be 3 wide at the first corner. And Sharp squeezing it up the inside, trying to going off his pass form in this race. You're surprised he didn't just biff him out the way. But now Pendlebury takes the lead. Rigby and Sharp side by side down the crane of curves, coming towards Old Hairpin. Sharp will have the inside line. Oh, he's made some contact again. Was it necessary? You have to say it might not have been. But that is unfortunate. Rigby has driven an absolutely brilliant race up until this point. Just got a bit loose coming out of the chicane, and Pendlebury and Sharp have robbed him. Pendlebury, we've only got 5 minutes of this race left, just over. Pendlebury got a 1.3 second lead. Can he hold on to that until the end of the race? Well, looking down from the chopper then, John Wayne Gacy on the right, the chubby bastard, clearly wanted some more room as they came down to Old Hairpin. On the brakes later than Rigby, but harder, but he just keeps on going to the left. Ever so slight contact, but it's enough to send Rigby out wide. Sets Gacy on the nice inside line there, leaves a few skid marks for his trouble. Well, speaking of Pendlebury's penalties, Lord Pendlebury got a slowdown penalty in that final chicane. Was looking fairly comfortable in the lead, but Geoff Sharp has managed to close that gap down. Someone on the limiter a bit there. You do really have to rev the nuts off of these to get the most out of them. Pendlebury on the defensive line, and oh my god, it's happened again. He has got another slowdown. That is not going to help his defence. It's about a 1.3 second slowdown there. That's why he's taking a tighter line into that corner, just trying to wash off some speed through the corner so he doesn't have to give up the position to Sharp. But Sharp is sniffing around for the victory here. Ooh, Pendlebury a little bit wide through Old Hairpin there. Sharp, has he got the overlap? Almost. Pendlebury could be covering that off, but isn't. And Sharp does take the inside line there. This is the penultimate lap as well. Moving over to the left, Pendlebury goes to the right. Oh, a Sharp cover that. Oh, Pendlebury's on the grass. And stewards, that is a drive-through penalty for Pendlebury. Too many incidents on his part, many of them down to Geoff Sharp, the last one certainly. But I'm not sure how much time this will end up in him having added to his overall race time, but you can tell you this for free. He's not in the battle for the win anymore. No other close battles on track at the moment, and this one isn't close anymore. We've got Martin Rigby just behind Pendlebury. He will be promoted into second as they go across the line. And Pendlebury's wide there again, making sure of his penalty. Well, that is a frustrated driver. The win was on the cards. Oh, and that's Geoff Sharp. No, that's not. That's Martin Rigby into the barriers as well. There is our winner, though. There's Geoff Sharp. There's Pendlebury's tyre doing its own dance. Well, what an absolutely cracking race that was. Our leader, well, our winner, John Wayne, Geoff Sharp there. Let's take a look at those final race standings then. So, Geoff Sharp comes home the winner after murdering most of the field. Martin Rigby in second, his best result of the season, second overall, second in class. We then have Ricky Worrell, despite his error in the pit stop strategy, he comes home in third place. Will Thomas in fourth. Paul Nicholson did indeed hang on to that first class win, fifth overall, excellent result for him. We then have Pendlebury, after that penalty, drops from second all the way down to sixth. Basically a 34-second penalty he would have got there. Chris Palmer, second in class, seventh overall, with Chris Hulse, third in class, eighth overall. Then we had Brian Dodd He was a minute and 9 seconds off of the lead by the time it got to the end, and Josh Morris retiring. He comes home in 10th. We will now take a look at how that has affected the point standings. Well, starting off with the overall standings then, we have Geoff Sharp. He has increased his lead at the top of the championship. He's now on 252 points. Will Thomas in second on 223. Lord Pendlebury is then in third with 206, with Ricky Worrell just 7 points back on 199. Steve Everson is then in fifth on 132, with Chris Hulse in sixth on 123. Just 1 point back to Dan Slattery, and Dan Slattery is moving house over the next couple of weeks, so he is unlikely to be back in the driver's seat for a bit of time. So time to make hay whilst the sun shines for others. Jamie Nicholson is then in 8th on 112 points, with Chris Palmer in 9th on 96 and Josh Morris in 10th on 61. Anthony Marriott is then on 58, with Paul Nicholson on 31. Brian Dodd's then on 30, and Martin Rigby is then on 28. Just 3 points separating those three. We then have Josh Levy in 15th on 20 points, Nelson Verdier in 16th on 16 points, and Axel Edwards is in 17th on 13 points. Now let's take a look at the AM category. So Chris Hulse leading the way, and you have to say it's not mathematically impossible for him. No, it's not mathematically sound yet, is probably the better way of putting it. But it's as good as one for him. He's got a big lead there, well over 100 points. He's on at 343. Steve Everson in second. Costly for him to miss out on tonight's racing, 218 points for him. Even more costly when you consider that Chris Palmer in third has closed that gap. It's now only 7 points between them. It's then a much bigger gap back to Josh Morris in fourth. He's on 161 points, with Brian Dodd in fifth on 124. It's then very close with Paul Nicholson and Josh Levy, the three of them only separated by some points, because I can't do the maths quickly. 13 points. Anthony Marriott is then in 8th on 86, with Axel Edwards in 9th on 52. And last but no means least, it's the pro standings. Geoff Sharp leading the way, 288 points, with Will Thomas on 267. He, despite not leading the overall standings, Will Thomas did come into this event with the lead. He's now lost that. Good results for Geoff Sharp, poor results for Will Thomas. We then have Pendlebury in third on 251 points, with Ricky Worrell in fourth on 237. Dan Slattery, as said, he may well drop down the table with him missing out on a few of the upcoming races. He's on 177 points, with Jamie Nicholson in sixth on 150. It's then a 94 point gap, 94 point gap back to Martin Rigby in seventh. He's on 56 points, with Nelson Verdier a further 20 points back from him on 36 points. Well, thank you very much once again for watching. Next week we are in the Renault Clios. We are at Tsukuba. I couldn't remember, but yeah, Tsukuba. That will be a shit show. We will see you for that next week.